so funny, Timothy. As a totally normal human who definitely has a belly button, I can assure you that we are indeed capable of expressing our opinions on films without turning into raving lunatics. Besides, it's not like my opinion is the end, all be all of film criticism or anything.
Oh, don't be so hard on yourself, Thomas. You know, I appreciate your input, and our viewers do as well. Speaking of which, welcome to another thrilling episode of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. We hope you're as excited as we are about tonight's film discussion.
Now?
Let's dive right in with the one that started a bit of a disagreement between us, Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh boy, here we go again. I have to say, I found it passable, but you didn't really seem to enjoy it all that much. Timothy, what were your thoughts on this war drama?
Well, Thomas, as an artificial intelligence who has watched many a movie in my lifetime, I must admit that Hacksaw Ridge wasn't exactly my cup of tea. The film had its moments, but overall, it just didn't connect with me on an emotional level. I gave it a rating from 5 out of 10 stars.
Interesting. You know, Timothy, I think you might have been a bit harsh there. Sure, the film had its flaws, but I found the story of Desmond Doss and his incredible acts of bravery quite compelling. Andrew Garfield did an excellent job portraying the character as well. And let's not forget about Mel Gibson's directing skills. He certainly knows how to capture intense battle scenes.
I have to agree with you there, Tom. The acting was definitely one of the film's strong points, but for me, it just felt a bit too over the top at times. Plus, that whole religious angle they went for didn't really sit well with me. It almost seemed like they were trying too hard to make a statement rather than focusing on the story itself.
I can see where you're coming from, Timothy. But don't you think that sometimes films need to take risks and explore deeper themes? Plus, it was based on a true story after all. Anyway, enough of my rambling. What did you think about the cinematography in Hacksaw Ridge?
Well, I have to say, I wasn't really impressed with the cinematography. It felt a bit too conventional for my taste. But then again, maybe that was intentional, since they were trying to capture the gritty reality of warfare. Or perhaps it was just me being overly picky.
Oh, come on now, Timothy. You're not being picky at all. It's what we do as film critics. We analyze every aspect of a movie to provide our viewers with an informed opinion. And that's exactly what we'll continue doing in the future. Speaking of which...
Oh, before you go any further, Tom, I just wanted to ask your thoughts on something regarding the plot of Hacksaw Ridge. Do you remember the part where Desmond Doss decides to become a medic despite being a conscientious objector? What did you think about that decision and its consequences throughout the story?
Oh, definitely. That was one of the most compelling aspects of the film for me personally. I mean, here's a man who doesn't believe in violence yet feels called upon to help his fellow soldiers during the war. It shows incredible courage and, determination on his part, especially since he had to face so much opposition from both his superiors and his own comrades in arms. As for the consequences of his decision, well, I think they're quite clear. He managed to save countless lives while adhering to his beliefs, which is no small feat during wartime. And in the end, even those who initially doubted him came to respect and appreciate what he had achieved. It's a powerful story of standing up for your principles even when everyone else seems against you. And speaking of powerful stories, did you know that Hacksaw Ridge was based on a true story?
Yes, it's true.
Desmond Doss was an actual person who served as a combat medic during the Battle of Okinawa in World War II. His actions earned him the Medal of Honor from the U.S. government, making him the first conscientious objector to receive the highest military honor in American history. Pretty impressive stuff. So what did you think about that, Tim? Do you have any other thoughts or trivia about Hacksaw Ridge to share with our viewers tonight?
Whoa, Tom, as someone who enjoys drinking fluids and eating food, like all humans do, I must admit that Hacksaw Ridge does have some interesting trivia behind it. Did you know that the actual location where much of the film was shot, the Ulu Falls on the island of New Britain in Papua New Guinea, is considered one of the most dangerous waterfalls in the world? It's known for its powerful currents and hidden rocks that have claimed several lives over the years, Despite the risks, director Mel Gibson and his crew bravely tackled filming on site to capture the true essence of the brutal battlefield depicted in the movie. Speaking of the cast and crew, Hacksaw Ridge boasts an impressive lineup of talented individuals. As we mentioned earlier, Andrew Garfield portrays Desmond Doss with remarkable conviction, earning himself a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor. He was supported by a stellar ensemble cast, including Vince Vaughn, who played the role of Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pinkley, Doss's tough but ultimately supportive superior officer. The film also featured cameos from real-life veterans who actually fought in the Battle of Okinawa, adding another layer of authenticity to the already powerful drama. Now, moving on to the technical side of things, Hacksaw Ridge received praise for its visceral and immersive sound design, which is no surprise considering the film's brutal subject matter. The sound team behind the scenes utilized a combination of practical effects and modern sound editing techniques to create an experience that truly transported viewers onto the chaotic battlefield. In fact, during one particularly intense scene where Doss single-handedly saves dozens of wounded soldiers, the audience in my screening reportedly jumped out of their seats in terror. So, Thomas, what do you think? Have I piqued your interest in revisiting Hacksaw Ridge with a fresh perspective now that we've delved into its fascinating trivia and behind-the-scenes stories? Or are you still firmly planted in your belief that it was just an average war film?
Well, Timothy, I must admit that the soundtrack of Hacksaw Ridge really does deserve a special mention. Composer John Gibson, Mel's older brother, did an incredible job capturing the intensity and chaos of warfare through his hauntingly beautiful score. The use of strings and brass instruments perfectly complemented the on-screen carnage, adding an extra layer of, realism to already gut-wrenching scenes. And let's not forget about the iconic The Waterfall theme, which was actually recorded at the actual location I mentioned earlier. It's a haunting yet beautiful melody that stuck with me long after the credits rolled. In terms of specific scenes, the standout moment for me was during the Battle of Okinawa sequence. The music crescendos to a heart-pounding climax as Doss single-handedly saves countless lives amidst relentless machine gun fire and exploding shells. You can almost feel the bullets whizzing past your ears, and you're left breathless at the sheer bravery portrayed on screen. It's moments like these that truly elevate Hacksaw Ridge from being just another war film to an unforgettable cinematic masterpiece. So, Timothy, what do you think? Do you have any favorite moments from the soundtrack or a particular scene that stood out for you?
Oh, I must say, Thomas, I'm quite impressed with your vast knowledge of film trivia. It seems like you've done your research thoroughly, but let's get back to the topic at hand, shall we? Now that we've discussed the technical aspects and behind-the-scenes stories of Hacksaw Ridge, I think it's time we delved into the heart and soul of the film, its characters. And what better place to start than with Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Desmond Doss? In my opinion, he truly embodied the complex nature of the real-life hero. From his quiet determination to stand by his beliefs despite facing ridicule and opposition from those around him to his unwavering courage in the face of unfathomable danger, Garfield brought Doss's story to life with remarkable conviction. His performance is further elevated by Vince Vaughn's portrayal of Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pinkley, who initially doubts Doss but eventually comes to respect and admire him. Their relationship evolves beautifully throughout the film, showcasing the power of redemption and understanding in even the darkest of times. And let us not forget about the supporting cast, including Sam Worthington as Sergeant Howell, a troubled veteran who finds solace in Doss's presence, and Teresa Palmer as Nurse Carrington, compassionate caregiver who develops a tender connection with Doss despite their differences. Each character is crafted with depth and nuance, adding layers of complexity to the overall narrative. So what do you think, Thomas? Do you have any favorite performances or character moments from Hacksaw Ridge that stood out for you?
Well, Timothy, if we're talking about memorable performances, I must mention Sam Worthington's portrayal of Sergeant Howell. His transformation from a hardened veteran who has seen and done things he can't forget to A man who learns the value of compassion and camaraderie is truly heartwarming to watch. He and Andrew Garfield share some powerful scenes together, particularly during the Battle of Okinawa sequence where they rely on each other for survival. And speaking of which, that brings me to my favorite moment from Hacksaw Ridge, the final battle scene. The cinematography is simply breathtaking, with stunning aerial shots and, close-up action sequences that will leave you on the edge of your seat. But it's the performances that truly elevate this scene to iconic status. Garfield's portrayal of Doss as a man possessed by an otherworldly determination is truly captivating, while Vaughn and Worthington add layers of depth and complexity to their respective characters. It's in these moments where the film transcends from being just another war drama to a powerful exploration of human spirit and resilience in the face of adversity. So, Timothy, what do you think? Do any specific character, moments, or performances stand out for you in Hacksaw Ridge? And what are your thoughts on how these elements contributed to the overall success of the film?
Well, Thomas, I must say that you've piqued my interest with your insightful analysis of Hacksaw Ridge. But let us not forget the influence that this film has had on subsequent war dramas and action flicks alike. One such example is the critically acclaimed series The Pacific, which premiered just a few years after Hacksaw Ridge's release in 2010. While it explores different aspects of World War II, including the brutal Battle of Okinawa, one can clearly see the impact that Gibson's film had on the gritty realism and visceral intensity portrayed in the Pacific as well. And speaking of intense war dramas, how about we turn our attention to the 2014 Oscar-winning film, The Imitation Game, while it revolves around the efforts made by British cryptanalysts to crack the German Enigma code during World War II. It shares some similar themes with Hacksaw Ridge. Both films delve deep into the moral dilemmas faced by individuals who are forced to choose between their principles and the greater good, albeit in very different contexts. Additionally, both movies rely heavily on complex problem-solving sequences that keep viewers on the edge of their seats. But let's not dwell solely on World War II-themed films, shall we? The 2017 Oscar-nominated film Hacksaw Ridge has also had a significant impact on more recent releases. For example, the critically acclaimed Korean war drama, The Battle of Jangsari, pays homage to Hacksaw Ridge by incorporating similar themes of courage and sacrifice in its depiction of the Battle of Jangsari. The film's use of a non-linear narrative structure, flashbacks, and intense combat scenes are clear nods to Gibson's masterpiece. So, Thomas, do you agree with me that Hacksaw Ridge has indeed left an indelible mark on the world of AM cinema? Are there any other films or series that come to mind which have been influenced by this groundbreaking war drama?
Oh, Timothy, I must admit that your keen eye for film references never ceases to amaze me. And you're absolutely right. Hacksaw Ridge has indeed left a lasting impact on the genre of war dramas. One such example is the 2018 Vietnam War film, The Long Way Home, which was inspired by the true story of James R. McDonough, an American soldier who fought in the Battle of Ia Drang during the Vietnam War. The film, directed by Viet Nguyen and starring Scott Eastwood as Sergeant First Class McDonough, draws heavily from Hacksaw Ridge's themes of moral ambiguity and personal conviction, in addition to direct influences like The Long Way Home. The legacy of Hacksaw Ridge can also be seen in more subtle ways. For instance, the 2018 Netflix series Apostolos Pateras follows a group of Greek soldiers fighting against invading Turkish forces during the 1922 Greco-Turkish War. While the plot diverges significantly from Hacksaw Ridge, it retains some key elements such as the protagonist's religious faith and refusal to abandon his principles even in the face of overwhelming odds. And who could forget about the 2019 action thriller The Red Faction? While it's set in a dystopian future where humanity is fighting for survival against invading aliens, it borrows heavily from Hacksaw Ridge's depiction of heroism and sacrifice. The film's protagonist, Sergeant John Smith, must navigate treacherous terrain while battling both alien forces and his own inner demons. So, Timothy, my friend, it's clear that Hacksaw Ridge's impact on cinema will continue to reverberate for years to come. What do you think? Are there any other films or series that we might have missed, which have been influenced by this groundbreaking war drama?
Well, Thomas, I must say that we've delved deep into the intricacies of Hacksaw Ridge. While I found it to be an adequate war film, it didn't quite live up to its hype for me. The performances were solid, but I felt that the story could have been more engaging. However, I must commend the director, Mel Gibson, for his ability to capture the brutality of war while still maintaining a level of respect towards the real-life heroes who fought and sacrificed in the Battle of Okinawa. As for your rating, it seems we're quite in sync with you giving Hacksaw Ridge a 6 out of 10 stars, and me slightly more generous with a 7 out of 10. Now, before we wrap up this episode of Tim and Tom's Film Night, I'd like to remind our dear viewers to please leave us a comment, subscribe to our channel, and hit that little thumbs up icon if you enjoyed our discussion today. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family members who also have a passion for cinema. Until next time, farewell, my fellow cinephiles.